Greetings. I am St. Paul, otherwise known as Paul the Apostle. I began learning the teachings of Christianity after an incredible vision I experienced while traveling on the road to Damascus. I ventured across the world in hopes of spreading this faith of liberation and truth to all people, traveling over 10,000 miles as a missionary to teach this faith, not as an obligation, but as a responsibility. Because of this, I have become widely credited with the spreading of the largest faith across the world. The work I did throughout my life, although far from perfect, was done with the intention of providing hope to people in a world that lacks substance. My work, through the words God gave to me, is to offer hope and peace to hurting, imperfect people such as myself. The worldly way to characterize a leader is often through money, power, and earthly success. However, I characterize a leader as a person who decides what they're passionate about and works to change the world in order to create a long-lasting and positive impact. We all know the beloved Teddy Roosevelt, but do we really? Theodore Roosevelt was President of the United States from 1901 to 1909, and in that short period shattered and ravaged millions of lives. Using your manipulative skills, you persuaded the public to give in to imperialism as you believed it was necessary for America to become a world power. You starved these nations of any natural rights and lacerated their very wills to live. As you stated yourself, I believe in power. I don't think that any harm comes from the concentration of power in one man's hands. Sounds a little bit like the man from Germany now, doesn't it? You have an immoral attitude towards the races you mark inferior, once dismissing 160 African officers from service as you assumed they colluded in a criminal shooting spree. You were engulfed by politics, becoming concerned with an economic affair only when it became destructive. You weren't preventative. You spearheaded a forceful revolution in Panama to glorify yourself, where it became apparent that you placed winning above all else. You put 4 million lives at risk just to promote your own egocentric public appeal. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says, "Love is not rude, it is not self-serving, but you were." Moving on from an impractical president, King Henry IV wasn't any better. You were born to the French throne in your absolute monarchy, in which you believed you had a divine right to rule from God, placing yourself on a tremendous pedestal with the assumption you were superior to all. Religion became a main turmoil throughout your life. You converted to Catholicism after the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in order to save your own skin, where thousands of others were massacred. Although born a Protestant, you converted between Protestantism and Catholicism 6 times because women weren't the only thing you wanted an abundance of. As seen from your affairs, you couldn't even commit to one wife, let alone a nation. You were largely unpopular with the people. Your own mistress was involved in plots against you, let alone 12 assassination attempts. The Pope even excommunicated you, declaring you devoid of any divine right to inherit the crown. You used bloody force to gain power because your alleged morals were not enough to convince anyone. You promoted yourself first and worked through brutality. Injustice ravages your bloodstream. If only you loved the people as much as you loved yourself. And then there's Harvey Milk. Californian Senator Harvey Milk is a nuisance to society. Your sole accomplishments were minimal, if that. You have judgment that parallels that of the devil and the initiative of a broken stone. You possess a conniving past that infinitely tarnishes your reputation, if you even possessed one to start. You are credited with the statutory rape of numerous innocent boys in your shell of a life, one being your detrimental relationship with 16-year-old Jack McKinley. McKinley was a disturbed runaway boy who only desired a father figure to provide empathy, compassion, wisdom, and direction. Instead, he found you. A promiscuous sexual predator who found an opportunity to satisfy a perverse lust for underage flesh. Ultimately, McKinley committed suicide. These stories are not ones of bias. They are the indisputable, undeniable facts. If you cannot accept them and acknowledge your despicable omissions, who even are you? Who are you, Senator? What would you call a middle-aged man who had and acted upon a deviant sexual appetite for underage drug-addicted runaway boys? I call this being a sadistic excuse for a man with a habit of the compulsory rape of innocent teenage boys. But you can call him Harvey Milk. In regards to my opponents, we all know the deceitful Teddy Roosevelt, the indecisive King Henry, and the world still remains unaware of Harvey Milk. The actions I took were legitimatized by Jewish law at the time, yet a sin it still was. I admitted my faults. I know who I was and I recognize that. But I grew to become a better person through the perception of my errors, not the 3 of you, all of whom lack humility. I am not perfect, but I am humble. It is senseless to accuse me as the enactor of incidents that branched off of Christianity that were out of my control. That's like blaming Henry Ford for all car crashes. I was one of the first men of my time to speak of women by their actual name, and I fought for equality for both genders. I defended the down and out, taught others to love the poor, and sought to include every person. Forever known as the man who changed the world, I leave you with this from Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Thank you.